Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This day in sports history. It's May 12th, and on this day in 2000, NASCAR's first family of racing suffered a horrific tragedy. Adam Petty was the fourth-generation driver from a family that had been racing cars since the beginning of stock car racing. They were a family with motor oil coursing through their veins and lead in their right foot. Getting around a track as fast as you could was always their pursuit. It started with Lee Petty racing on the beaches of Daytona and the dirt tracks up and down the eastern seaboard. The flame was passed to his son Richard after Lee's horrific crash with Johnny Beecham in 1961. Richard became the king, winning exactly 200 races until he retired in 1992. But of course, he had his share of horrific crashes, some of which we've talked about here. Richard passed the torch then to Kyle, who had less success on the track with just 8 wins, and then there was Adam, a bright light of a kid, always smiling, the next in line to carry the Petty Enterprise banner. Until this day in 2000. The NASCAR circuit was in Loudon, New Hampshire. Adam was driving in a practice session for the Busch Series race. The Busch Series was the second tier at that point. It's called the Xfinity Series now. And heading down the backstretch, Petty's throttle stuck, and he had no way of unsticking it. He drove full speed into the Turn 3 wall at an estimated speed of 130 miles per hour. He died instantly with a basilar skull fracture. It was the first of 4 that would happen in the next 11 months. Just 2 months later at Loudon, driver Kenny Irwin would be killed in a practice crash that was the result of a stuck throttle. And again, it would happen in Turn 3. A lot of blame was heaped on the track due to its long straightaways and unbanked turns, but the real problem was with the cars themselves. Stuck throttles with no chance to cut the power were the issue. Dennis Setzer had the same issue in his Craftsman truck ride later that weekend. Bobby Labonte, who would win his only NASCAR championship in the 2000 season, had a stuck throttle during a practice run at Darlington in preparation for the Southern 500. Both Setzer and Labonte survived their incidents. NASCAR eventually mandated a kill switch in August of 2000. Adam Petty was just 19 when he died in his race car. But in that short time, he brought joy to a lot of people. He visited sick kids in the hospital. Inspired by a camp in Florida he visited as a kid, Adam was in the planning stage for a camp for kids in Randleman, North Carolina. And after his death, Richard and Linda Petty donated land, and Kyle and Patty Petty developed the camp that Adam dreamed about. The NASCAR-themed Victory Junction Gang Camp opened in 2004 as a place where children with serious illness would be able to experience the joys of childhood and forget about being sick for a while. That's Adam's lasting legacy after his life was cut short on this day in 2000. Also on this day, in 1970, Mr. Cub Ernie Banks hit career home run number 500. Banks blasted a 1-1 offering from Atlanta pitcher Pat Jarvis into the bleacher seats, which were mostly empty that day. At the time, the 39-year-old Banks was the 9th major leaguer to hit 500 homers. This was Banks' final season in the majors, and he hit another 12 dingers that year to finish with 512 career home runs. In 1979, Chris Evert lost in the semifinals of the Italian Open in a third-set tiebreak to Tracy Austin. Now, this was a huge loss because the Italian Open is played on clay, and Evert was the master on the surface. Austin's win on this day ended Chris Evert's streak of 125 consecutive wins on clay that started back in 1973. During that span, she only dropped 8 sets. Her 125 consecutive wins is the most of any other woman or man in the history of professional tennis. By comparison, Rafael Nadal's longest win streak on clay is 81 matches, and Nadal is considered the men's greatest on the surface. Interestingly, after losing this match to Austin, Evert went back out and won the next 72 matches she played on clay. In 1997, Kobe Bryant had a game, well, he wanted to forget, and quickly. It was Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinals, with Kobe's Lakers hoping to stay alive against the Utah Jazz, who led the series 3-1. This is Kobe's rookie year, and really this is more Shaq's Lakers, not Kobe's quite yet, but he was anxious to make his mark in the postseason, just like the guy he was pursuing, Michael Jordan. With time winding down in regulation and the game tied at 89, the 18-year-old Kobe put up a shot to win it, and shot an airball. So the game was headed to overtime. Early in the OT, Shaq fouled out, and it seemed like Bryant was the only one willing to step up and take the shots. But Kobe kept missing. And not just missing shots, missing the rim. In the overtime, he shot another 4 airballs, including 2 in the final 45 seconds that would have tied the game and sent it to a second overtime. The loss closed out the Lakers' season, but to Kobe's credit, he did not let the failure in crunch time of this game define him. In fact, there's a good chance he used this game to fuel his desire to be better. Before his career ended in 2016, Kobe had 5 championship rings and was considered one of the best to take the big shot to win in the NBA. And in 2012, golfer Rhein Gibson, then a 26-year-old professional golfer from Australia, got around the River Oaks Golf Club in Edmond, Oklahoma in 55 strokes. So this is not tournament golf, not a PGA event or a mini tour event or anything like that. It was a Saturday morning round with friends, but this was also not a putt-putt course. River Oaks was a full-length 6,700-yard par 71 golf course. Gibson made 12 birdies and 2 eagles on his way to a 16-under round. It is the lowest recorded score, outside of North Korea, ever shot on a full-length golf course, and is in the Guinness Book of World Records. And time now for the non-sports Did You Know? Well, this one sort of breaks the rules of non-sports, but in Montana, it is illegal to play disc golf anywhere but on a disc golf course. That's all for today. I'll have more tomorrow on This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.